Greetings, everyone. I'm Father Sebastiaan, Impresario of the Endless Night Vampire Ball and Master Fangsmith of the Sabretooth clan. Today, we're going to go into the subject of shape-shifting with the Black Veils edition of the Master Vampire edition. You can get this book on Amazon on May 1st in Kindle edition. And shape-shifting is the concept of transformation of matter and from one shape to another. Okay, the metamorphosis. And it's more than just like lycanthropy or shape-changing into a wolf. There's an entire mythology behind it. And I'm going to let Johanna go into the mythology behind shape-shifting and what it means.
All right. Let me get into our notes here. So shape-shifting can be defined as the alteration in a form or substance of any animate object. There seems to be no limit to the kinds of objects susceptible to such alteration. Vampires in mythology, literature, and fiction can often shape-change a bat, a wolf, or mist. In reality, like Therions, shifting, with the wolf being the most common and favored form for practitioners of lycanthropy. The etymology of lycanthropy hails from the Greek words lykos for wolf and anthropos for man. And in mythology, it is the shape-shifting of a man into the form of a wolf. Within the Sabretooth clan, large great felines are the favored therianthropy shape. As a magical practice, shifting and lycanthropy has roots in many legends and esoteric traditions, from the myths of Slavs, Greek, and Norse tribes to coverage in Renaissance and medieval literature. For example, some spells exist in Russian folklore with the Zaragovi and the shamanistic skinwalkers of the Native Americans. True shape-shifting is extremely difficult and virtually impossible to achieve within the dense energetic layers of the physical dayside world. Such a feat would take tremendous amounts of energy, will, and aggrievement to achieve and maintain, even for a short while. Thus, most shape-shifting is done by the more malleable subtle body of adept vampires. Other traditions of magical practitioners also are disciplined in these techniques. Shape-shifting. Wait a sec. My notes are shape-shifting. Yeah. Shape-shifting of the subtle body requires an adept's master. Are the most flexible of all and are more easily able to be shaped in accordance with will and intent. There are layers of the subtle body which are more dense, and they lay in between the subtle and physical realities. Shifting requires much more discipline to achieve shape-shifting in the astral than in the physical world. Totem animal, and a vampire can feel drawn to as much to it as their own reflection. Would you like to comment on that before we talk about the different shifting type?
That is a really good introduction. That's from the Black Veil of Shifting. One thing that I want to make clear is that there are many varieties of shape-shifting. Okay, my internet has been a little skippy. I just signed on my phone. So I just want to go over the capabilities of shape-shifting. And at the end of this class, we'll talk about how to actually different examples of shape-shifting that you can apply in your day-to-day basis. Okay. I'm going to go over the totem animals that we had from the totem class. Can you please raise your hand if you've taken that class? Okay, so I'm going to just do a little repeat. Totems are internal, okay? Totems are what animal or shapeshift we connect with, okay? They're an embodiment of our primordial state. And usually we have the ability to connect or shapeshift into that entity. Okay. So let's look at the concept of a wolf, which is the most common shapeshifting for vampires. Okay. Wolf is pack and loyalty. Okay. Vericolis were types of shaman that wore wolf skins. They represent instincts and empathy, good judgment of a good persona, good and bad. They're warriors. They're guardians and hounds of hell. The sixth sense, they can smell, hear, and changes in perception. They can sense illness. They're territorial, and they're telepathic. They have telepathic communication within their pack. Felines. Now, what's interesting about felines is that they can cross boundaries in sacred spaces. They're the keepers of temples. The purring helps healing and relaxation and meditation. Okay, the ability to land on one's feet. They exist in multiple layers of reality. They're independent. There's a thing called cat yoga. Okay, and you can do cat yoga. All right, and if you have a cat and you see them stretching and rolling around and stuff like that, they're doing yoga. They're nocturnal. They have grace. They're agility. They have strong agility. They're nocturnal. They see things at night. The cat represents very much the night side because they're nocturnal. They choose their owner, and the great felines have aspects such as the lion, tiger, jaguar, or lynx. Okay. The bat. The bat represents astral flight, blind chain of perception. Okay. They have sonar, which is clairaudience. They can identify their prey very well. The ability to see in the dark and walk in the dark, energetic perception of environment, reading a room. They have a prelatic bite, which means that it's like a leech, or that you don't feel them biting you. Okay, they can feed on sleeping beings through astral projection. Okay, they have a deep relationship with the vampire mythos, and they are similar abilities to a traditional vampire. Spiders. Spiders have strength, cunning, ingenuity, deflection, networking skills because of their webbing. Okay, they have a sixth sense. They have a gut feeling and lucid dreamers. Owl. Owl represents wisdom, blending in, discernment, see through the pretenses, a companion of Athena. Metis is Greek for cunning. They're an example of sorcery because they're very good familiars. The symbol of Halloween, and they are solitary. Okay. Ravens are messengers, eyes and ears for the supernatural. They announce and foretell death. They have fantastic memories, and they often seek revenge if you've done something bad. I've seen it happen in my courtyard. I have a lot of ravens and crows, and they are not very forgiving. They carry souls to the dead. They're poets, Edgar Allan Poe. Friendship and social bonds. They're all black, and they can speak language. Okay. I hope they can speak language better than a parrot. Now, you can shapeshift into any of these elements by emulating them. Okay. The most important thing about shapeshifting is that it's not just, I'm going to turn into an actual animal. Okay. There are a whole varieties of things that you can shapeshift into. Okay. But what is shapeshifting is the concept of being able to also take on the elements of that entity. Now, in the physical world, you can't turn Eva can't turn into a bat. Okay. It's not going to happen. Sorry, Eva. All right. Or Khalees, you can't turn into a kangaroo, or a vampire kangaroo. Okay. Vera is a shapeshifter. Okay. She embodies her totem, which is that of a feline. Okay. And what you do is you begin to manifest the elements of that characteristic. You ever meet someone that's just, you just know they're a cat? Okay. You're just like, you know, and a lot of times, like a lot of cats that I know, real cats, I mean, the physical four-legged cats, not the two-legged cats. Um, what's interesting is that they, um, some of them like being with other cats and some of them hate it. Most kitten girls that I know hate real cats, but some love cats. Okay. And it's just because they want to be the only cat. And, you know, usually you got to raise them as a duo.
If that's not embodying the spirit of a cat, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Having characteristics of that animal or that creature is a form of shapeshifting. Okay. You know, one of the things that I found very interesting is that I've met people who are like, I met a guy who he didn't shapeshift into an elf. He was a freaking elf. Okay. I didn't believe in otherkin. And this guy was 6'3", pointy nose, pointy ears. Okay. And he's like, I'm just a fucking elf. I don't know what to tell you. And I met a girl who was like, I remember I was in otherkin denial for a long time. Okay. There's no such thing as otherkin. And this one girl she was just, you know, I fed on her energy. And when you know, one of the things that is interesting is that when you feed on somebody as a vampire and you ingest their life force or their energy, okay, and you gather energy from them, they do have a taste. Okay. Endo, let's not talk about that. I'm talking about elf. But the concept is that costuming, okay, physical behavior, if you emulate those things, if you put elf ears on and you act in a certain mannerism, you are actually shapeshifting, even subtly. And what I find interesting is that when you shapeshift, you do it internally as well as externally. Okay, because when people interact with you as a individual, say you're like, for example, you're an elf or a wolf. Okay, let's talk about the gradients of change. Okay, which I think is important. I am going to go in here and shifting. Okay, so sometimes you can have the senses of an animal. Okay, we're going to use the wolf as an example. The traditional things that a vampire shapeshifts into are a wolf, a bat, mist, and sometimes felines. Okay, there's also other shapeshifting and crows and everything. So shifting types include sensory, raising one of the 5 subtle senses or the physical senses. As we have our subtle senses, okay, that are 5 of ESP, because remember, ESP is extrasensory perception, which is the ability to use your senses, the mirrors of your physical senses, in the subtle reality, the astral and the etheric. Okay. So it's easiest to shape change in the astral. The subtle reality is the easiest place to shapeshift. Okay. And however, I have seen people turn around and their face looks like a wolf. Okay, like a spirit animal. You ever see those pictures of people with their with like their totems, okay, over their face? All right, like a feline, and it looks like a ghost. I remember this one guy in New York. I can't remember his name, but this dude was a freaking werewolf. Okay, he was wolf, and you could feel it. Okay, And no, that's a really good altered beast. Okay, so sensory is the ability to embrace the senses of a animal, to make manifest, the smell or the sight or the hearing of an animal, which is most powerful in the astral. Okay, some people I know can see in the dark. Okay, and they relate to their totem animal, which is an embodiment of what they are. And that's the easiest to shape change into because they already have that pattern. Wild shape-shifting is embracing the senses. Like, for example, I know people that live in a wolf-like sense, like shape-shifting in the Jungle Book. Okay, you grow up and you emulate the elements of that animal. Okay, what was the character's name in this Jungle Book?
Mowgli.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mowgli, he walked on all fours. He smelled, he acted, he behaved like a wolf. Okay. And it's interesting to see how that shape-shifting, that emulation can actually bring out the actual characteristics of that entity. Okay. Dreaming. The easiest place to shape-shift is in your dreams. Okay. Has anybody ever done that? All right. Lucid dreaming is the ability to control one's dream. We had a whole class on that. And what's really cool about this is that you can control what animal you can be, anything you want. And then astral shape-shifting is probably the most legitimate of shape-shifting. Is you actually shape-shift and you embrace the elements of that animal in an interactive environment. Lucid dreaming is not interactive. It's in your head. Dreaming is in your head. The astral is like a spiritual internet. Okay. And it's the most malleable. So if in Sanguinomicon, we it's a little more complex than Black Veils. We divide it into the physical world, which is the day side, the etheric, which is the twilight, and the etheric, which is the night side, and then the twilight, which is the astral. So what is interesting is that the physical world, the dayside world, is as solid as ice. The etheric world, which is the veil between worlds, is like a liquid. Okay. And then the astral world is like a vapor. All right. And you can shapeshift different elements in different things. So in the astral world, because it's the most abstract, can be completely shapeshifting. Okay. I can come and visit Eva or Enobane or Endo or Ruby or Khaleesi. Okay. And I can shapeshift into my lion because my totem is a lion. Okay. And this is my mane. That's why I never cut it. Okay. And when I shapeshift into a lion, it's easiest because that is the animal that is my closest, that is my totem. Okay. That is my embodiment of who I am. So what happens is sometimes I'll turn around, okay, and people will see my mane and they'll look in my eyes and I'll sniff, all right, or I'll look at them and they'll be like, "Hey Mufasa, what's up?" All right. And my totem animal, okay, is that of a black furred lion. Okay. And with gray and blonde streaks. And people have reacted to me like, and it's when I manifest it, or I've had friends with dreams of me coming to them as this lion entity. And I prefer to like the Ashlyn kind of character from the the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I think that's really interesting because shape-shifting is in every single culture. Shapeshifting has been around in mythology throughout the world's history. And in this class, okay, we're going to do a vision exercise where we're going to search for our totem animal. Okay, if we who here has already known their totem animal? Okay, let's go through the group and find out what different totem animals. Eva, what's your totem animal?
A raven.
A raven. Okay, Shantae.
Snake.
Okay, Patty.
Cat.
All right, Khalees.
Definitely bats.
Bats. Okay, Ruby.
Cat.
What is your totem animal?
Cat.
Cat. Okay, Erin.
I'd say the panther.
Oh, that's a good one. Endo, what is yours? I don't think he's there. Oh, he is.
I have two. It's the bat and the raven.
Okay. Andrew? Okay. Renee? Vera, can you share with everybody yours?
I don't know mine.
You don't know yours? I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it should be a cat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And you can. Ray, what's yours?
I have two, panther and Asiatic small-eared otter.
Oh, wow. Okay. Eric?
Wolf.
Good choice. Winter, what is yours?
I've had a few because I've only seen them in dreams. I saw myself running in the forest as a wolf passing by water in a brook as a reflection. And I've also flown. So in my dream, I've actually seen myself as a snow owl.
Oh, that's cool. Really cool. Eno Bane.
Bat. Probably
okay.
Bat.
Heather, how about you?
Oh, I'm an owl.
Oh, cool. Akasha.
Yeah, I'm a panther, and sometimes wolf. I have a wolf in there too. So.
A cat and a dog. Okay, Tamika.
Raven.
That's a good choice. Okay. Well, okay, Dalton. Crow. Oh, he's having Dalton's having mic issues. Jasmine.
I am a lioness and also a crow.
You are my sister lion. Robin.
I have two actually. I have the hawk and the wolf as a secondary.
Okay. Johanna?
I think I'd have to meditate on it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know me pretty well. What would you guess?
I don't really know. I mean, you got so many different characteristics of different things.
That's the thing. I can think of a bunch of different things.
Okay.
I think
Mariah?
I shift depending on the situation. So I don't know, maybe a cute little chameleon.
Oh, cool. Mariah?
Lioness.
Cool. CB?
It used to be a wolf, but it might be turning into a lynx.
Very cool. And Ronchi?
Raunchy.
Raunchy. I'm sorry.
It's okay. People have been calling me raunchy all my life, so it's all right. Snake and also Raven.
Okay. So now that we have given examples of our totems, which is the shape that is easiest, have you guys ever tried shape-shifting? Okay. So there's something that we do at the Endless Night and Babylon and Sabretooth that has always been the ability for us to do one element of shape-shifting. Okay. And that is the Gotham Howl by Dedrenin. When you get on stage and you go around the world at midnight at Endless Night, okay, when we get on stage, we howl, and getting 1,000 people to howl at the same time, okay, is a form of shape-shifting. It is shaping your behavior to be something else than a human. Okay. Now, shape-shifting can also be used for invisibility powers too. Okay. You can actually use the same technique, okay, to transform your facial image into something else to hide yourself. Okay. So have any of you actually, like, you know how French people go, ah, ah. Okay, I just shapeshifted into a French person. Ah, Okay. The idea here, okay, is to begin the emulation of that animal until it becomes a behavior pattern. Okay. When you shapeshift into a kangaroo, Khaleesi, okay, all right, do you get extra hopping powers?
Yeah. Catch me jumping 10 foot in the air.
And you can box really good, right?
Yeah. I'll just start showing up at people's back doors on the glass. Hello.
One of the things that is really a misconception is that shapeshifting is like you actually change into the animal. Okay. There's little bits of shapeshifting that occur, like howling like a wolf or behaving like a cat, okay, or doing cat yoga. All right, is emulation of that animal is a form of shapeshifting, and it's the beginning of that. Okay, you got to begin. So you got to carry, Khaleesi, you got to carry a big purse. When you begin to shapeshift, okay, you got to start with a key, okay? And then what you do is, like in vampire sorcery, you build agreement, okay? You have to believe it yourself. Now, there's a movie called Vampires, Reality is Stranger Than Fiction. And there is a vampire in New York who claims to be a lichen. Now, what it is interesting, okay, for me, is that Therians, Otherkin, and vampires, 3 different things, but there can be crossover, all right, is you begin the emulation. So howling like a wolf and trying it is the beginning of shapeshifting, okay? Putting cat ears on and wearing a tail is emulating shapeshifting, okay? I don't know any werewolves that actually, like any Therian wolves that actually wear wolf ears. That's kind of funny because that makes them look like a furry. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to emulate the animal as a tool of empowerment or guiding it. Okay. So for example, has anybody here manifested in one of their totem or another animal's characteristics? Okay, Khaleesi, your kangaroo is okay. I'm just kidding. Can you tell us?
Sorry, I had to unmute it. I'm not typically someone that's particularly fierce. And I find that in times I really have to channel like a lioness and stuff like that when it comes to dealing with people, and especially professional things, because I can very easily kind of get run over in that kind of respect. So I kind of need a little bit of that feminine aggression. And I find that I do channel it probably in that sense a lot.
Okay. The feminine aggression in what animal?
Probably maybe like a lioness or like a panther or something like that. Definitely like the female cats for sure. Yeah, it's a good benefit. I find it's taught me like when that I can get the claws out if I need to get the claws out, so to speak. So yeah.
The physical costuming is a tool that will help, but it's really the spirit of the entity that you're channeling. Okay. And I'm trying to avoid using the term spirit animal because I don't want to be co-opting, something, but the spirit of an animal is, for me, the essence of the animal. Okay. And the characteristics of that. So let's go through, okay, and raise your hand if you can share with something one characteristic of your totem or another animal that you have manifested in the real world. A personality trait, a skill, a behavior pattern that will emulate your totem. Okay, any takers? Raise your hand. Okay, and Obane.
I've had to walk into rooms before where I like at different kinds of gatherings and stuff, and very quickly feel out energies of a large group of people all at once to make sure that everything was going to be good and to kind of center myself with different things that were going to happen. So I would, and I don't know, the other thing I do, and it's not a actual living animal, but the dragon thing, if I get I need a lot of strength or something, I can do that and get pretty able to defend myself and things like that. But the scanning of a room type thing and feeling out a large portion of energy in order to be safe, I've done that before in situations, and that's been part of the bat thing. The bat, so like bat when the dragon wings or if I got dragon wings going, there's usually something else going on there. But the bat thing has been most useful, like feeling out large rooms and the energies of large amounts of people in an area. Cool. So you use the essence of that entity or that animal or something to change your shape. Has anybody been in a room where that they've experienced someone and they've kind of like manifested an energy that is animalistic or okay, Ray?
So one of my closest friends of mine is Theron, and I call her my wolf sister. And one of the first times that we really started speaking more about that part of herself was when we went camping. It was my very first time camping. We went to upstate New York. It was a beautiful time. And being out there in those wilds, I started to see the subtle changes that took her as we were out there in that wild space. You know, she was very much concerned outside of, her typical concern for people in general, but she was very protective. She would often sort of pace our territory at the campground that we had, making sure that people that she knew were all right to be on camp. And if there was someone that she didn't, she was the first person who knew if something was out of place. And she was right there in someone's face, like, who are you? What are you doing here? What is this? She was very, very protective of the area that we were in and very, very protective of the people who were with her, especially for people like me who were brand new. But she did that for everyone. And that was something that she was kind of known for. People other people who, you know, had campsites and had longer sites that were familiar with her, they said, yeah, like if something's not right, she's the first person to sniff it out, and she's the first person to, you know, set things right. And seeing her in that element was different than seeing her, you know, in our day-to-day. We are both urban, so in the wild, she definitely manifests much more of that energy than she does when we're both together in the city.
Oh, that's really cool. It's also the connection to nature and the environment. Like, you know, a dog will react differently or a cat or a dog will react differently in the house than they will out in the forest, okay, or on the street. And there's different environments. It's also how you interact with your environment. Okay. For example, there's a whole variety of examples that I'd like to get into in a little bit. Okay. But let's look at mythology. All right. Shapeshifting happens in role-playing games. Shapeshifting happens with gods and goddesses. Shapeshifting happens with demons and devils manifesting as humans. If you see the TV show Lucifer, he's in the shape of a man. Okay. Dragons often are taking the shape of a human. Okay. And changelings or fairies can shapeshift. So, and also in Homer's Odyssey, with the golden ass, okay, there's Ovid's Metamorphosis and the gods. One prime example is when Zeus transformed King Lycaon and his children into wolves, and that's where the word lycanthropy comes from. The shape-shifting is a really powerful thing, especially in mythology and dreams. Okay. What I find really empowering is, like, for example, in mythology, you look at Medusa got transformed into a horrid snake-haired creature. Okay. And what I find really interesting is the prevalence of every mythology and every culture has some form of shapeshifting. Okay. The Japanese have one of my favorite, which Kitsune. Does anybody know how to pronounce that properly?
Kitsune.
Kitsune. Can anybody,
Kitsune.
Who's an expert on them? Those foxes.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I know a fair bit because I'm obsessed with animes.
Okay, can you tell us about them?
They're like pretty much pure spirit. They're pretty much purely spirit, and they can become like kind of like a human hybrid, but they all have different types of things. So like a lot of the time they can be seen as like tricksters and stuff like that, but they really are all kind of different. But that's like, you can have a kitsune that is a trickster, but then you can have a kitsune that's more about love and light and stuff like that. So they're really just spirits, just like how a lot of Japanese culture is about, like, you know, a snake has a spirit and stuff like that. It's very much that.
So they're just a spirit. So can they be in a human body?
Yeah. It really depends on which kind of context you read, but sometimes it says that, you know, a kitsune can be forced into a human hybrid body, or they can only be in a human hybrid body for a certain amount of time. So it's very like it changes depending on what literature you actually kind of read. So
interesting.
Yeah, they're very cool.
That the hybrid brings up some subject that, you know, in werewolves you have the wolf man, you have the wolf, and then you have the human shape. Okay. The people who are Therians that I've met that are wolf Therians, they manifest characteristics and an energy of a wolf. Okay. It's not like they're really furry people. Okay.
Yeah, you'll find that in kitsunes too. So even if they are like full human form and stuff like that, again, like let's say you do come across like a trickster, they'll be very much like the Loki kind of vibes. They'll get up to a lot of stuff. They'll cause mischief. They might even have more cat-shaped type of eyes to look like a fox. So they definitely have the characteristics.
Are they always foxes?
I'm pretty sure the kitsunes are, yeah. There may be one where they could possibly be a cat, but I believe, yeah, that they're majority foxes.
Okay. What else? What other? Okay, let's get back into examples of shape-shifting. Okay, Eva, you said you had something to share.
I know a guy who is a satyr. He's a faun, and the first time I saw him, I was completely in shock because I look at him, his face is really, really like a faun. And I was in shock. I was like, and his name is Faustus. And I was like, you are a little bit different. And I'm like, okay, I know we're seeing, it's normal. I am a faun. And I'm like, you are, you really are. Because he's like, he has this amount of sexual energy. It's like amazing and terrifying at the same time because it's really, really strong. And you can't see him and not think about a satyr. It's impossible.
I remember my first experience with shape-shifting was in role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. And that was where I really understood the mechanics of it, because in the gaming world, they always get into the mechanics of how you shapeshift and how a curse works. So we look at shapeshifting and a curse. As a curse, you're cursed to shapeshift. But to your subject, before I get into the various causes of shapeshifting, okay, in mythology, I remember being at the Ren Fair in New York City at the Tuxedo Renaissance Fair, and there was a guy named Puck. Okay. And Puck was this black satyr. Okay. He was Shakespearean in every element of his existence. Okay. You felt like you didn't go to him and I don't know what to call him, a Therian or other kin, or he was just a satyr. Okay. And he would play the flute, and you'd turn around and you'd have a glimpse of him with like goat legs. Okay. And
yes,
you'd be
precisely.
like, yeah, you have the same experience?
Yes. And this guy, he was all into BDSM. And I was looking at him, I was like, your legs, you're terrifying.
Well, Puck, the guy I remember from the Renaissance Festival, this is when I was like 14 to 20. Okay. And I grew up at the New York Renaissance Fair, and that's where I found about Wicca and magic and vampires and shapeshifting and everything like that. He was pansexual, which means anybody was game for him. Okay. If they had flesh and they talked and they spoke and they were over 18, they were game. Okay. And I remember like literally he had like when springtime would come around, okay, you'd hear stories about him before, because the Ren Fair started in July and went through September. Okay. And back then you weren't allowed to play fantastic creatures. Okay. You had to be historical. All right. And the Renaissance fairs were the people that hung out at fair. I mean, like your satyr, he was just the most sexual energy I've ever seen. And I'm like, are you gay? And he's like, when I want to be. Okay. Are you straight? Do you like women? And he's like, when I want. Okay. Or when I feel like it. Okay. He would go back and forth all the time. And he would just shapeshift his sexual identity. Okay. But he had the coolest little horns. All right. And this little afro. All right. And like, I didn't even know what to make of him. I just enjoyed being around him. Okay. And he was that cast of character. And we had this place called the Grove, which was this little like tree in the corner that we would hang out in. All the Rennies would meet in. It was like a meeting point. And I'm so glad I remembered him. Okay. Then when I got to New York and I met my first werewolf, okay, and he howled. If you see the movie Vampires, Reality is Stranger Than Fiction, okay, you can see this guy. I freaking can't remember his name, but he's a big black dude from New York. And this man can howl and manifest a wolf, okay, so well. Okay, I couldn't believe the energy he manifested. Okay, so I've met Therians throughout my life, but you know one thing, I remember when people take on the characteristics of cultural concept, okay, like the big thing that I find really difficult, okay, is that Vampire the Masquerade created the legend of vampires versus werewolves, which the Underworld series adopted. Okay, that's why White Wolf, the creator of Vampire the Masquerade, the gaming company, sued Paramount or Universal. I can't remember who produced Underworld. But the war between vampires and werewolves comes from the concept of Vampire the Masquerade, where there's two different perspectives. The Vampire the Masquerade world has 5 perspectives. There's the vampires, the werewolves, the mages, the changelings, and the ghosts. Okay. So shapeshifting happens in all these categories. Vampires and otherkin and werewolves and Therians are not the only shapeshifting beings. Okay, there's many shapeshifting beings in the BDSM community. Okay, you look at the puppy players, and that's usually I've seen women, and their dog, they're just putting them. They have the muzzle and the little paws, and then when the kitten scene, okay, now that's crazy because it's sexualized, but there's pony play. We'll get into pony play in a second, but the kitten role play is interesting because what they do is they manifest feline and cat-like characteristics. Okay, and they go and they I think they stick their tongue out for some reason. I still can't figure that out. All right, cat girls Neko girls stick their tongues out. They go like this. What is that? Vera, Johanna, someone?
I think it's like an anime reference.
Okay.
That's 100% an anime reference.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's 100% an anime reference, yeah.
Tongue, and then they'll cross their eyes, and we won't talk. It's not that kind of class. So
well, the thing is that in BDSM you have horses, you have animal play, pet play. Okay, that is a form of shapeshifting using costumes and behavior and emulation of an animal. Okay, you have the kittens, you have the ponies, you have the puppies. Okay, you even have I know people that do reptiles. Okay, and they'll sit there like this.
They call them scalies. Instead of furries, they call them scalies.
Oh, wow. What about furries? Anybody know anything about furries? That's a form of shapeshifting. I used to have a fox furry pole dancer. Okay, I put the pole out. I found it really interesting because in Paris, there was this group of furry wolves that used to come to my events. Okay. And I just thought it was fun. All right. I thought it was hilarious. But these guys actually emulated these animals. I never even figured out what they look like as real people. I would meet them and I wouldn't even know. Okay. The Butler guy from Tampa. Or can you tell us about him?
Yeah, it's a friend of mine, and he has an original character that he's made up called Bastille the Butler. And it's really cool because he wears it out so often. He goes to all these different little conventions around town. If there's some gathering of people where it's creative and appropriate, he'll show up in his outfit, and he's made his whole little character. And I think he started this, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something years back. And he's gained a lot of fans around town, and people overall don't know who it is. And at first, everyone was trying to figure it out. And now they've just kind of accepted it, you know. He shows up, he has this custom made kind of furry suit, and it's like a big, great big wolf, like a black and white wolf. And he wears a really fancy kind of Victorian goth outfit, which I helped him pick out from the shop. And so for a long time, everyone was asking, who's Bastille the Butler? Who is it? Who is it? Oh, I can't tell you. But he has this big, like, you know, Victorian outfit, a big, you know, wolf suit. And his whole thing is the head of the wolf suit. It's a skeleton face. So it's not a normal face. It's a skeleton face. He doesn't speak with it, but the mouth can move, and he'll be very expressive with it. And he has this kind of mythology that he is a butler who is in the service of anyone who is good and has a kind heart, and he will protect them from those who are not good and who don't have a kind heart. And it's really interesting, because for kind of all purposes, when he's in that suit, he has shapeshifted. People believe the character and they accept the character, and they might kind of wonder who's inside, but at this point they're not really looking at it thinking, oh, there's like a guy in there. They know about the character and they are believing the character, and they interact with that person not as himself, the guy inside, but as the character.
You know, what I find really interesting is costuming is a great way of shapeshifting. Okay, masks. Okay, Johanna, can you pull up the mask veil and read that, please?
Throughout history, masks have been used in masquerade balls, the Venetian Carnival, tribal shamanistic practices, performances, ceremonies, and Halloween. Masks add mystery and anonymity, allowing a rare sense of freedom, which lets one bring out aspects of their personality that are not commonly explored. In New York City, masquerade balls were made illegal for a while in the 19th century to impose temperance and a Puritan Sabbath. In Venice, Napoleon outlawed Carnival because of the wild happenings that surrounded the masked events. Vampires will often collect masks and will wear them. The Endless Night vampire ball events highly encourage masks, but do not require them. This allows the historical and practical sense of freedom that comes along with the protection of one's identity, and allows media into the events for promotional reasons. Masks are often used in the vampire ritual of the Red Mass and other ceremonies to create a mental psychodrama, and they allow the wearer to enter another state of experience.
Thank you, Johanna. Masks are a powerful tool for shapeshifting, okay, because you can pull out the spirit with costume pieces, but masks, as we were described, the mask, I remember goblin masks or fairy masks, and seeing people actually shapeshift. One great example of shapeshifting is Halloween. Okay, everybody's shapeshifting into something different. Okay, the whole point is putting a mask on and bringing out other characteristics. Your behavior is shapeshifting. Emulating is shapeshifting. Okay, and yes, Khaleesi, you're right. The makeup is a very powerful tool. It's really funny because I'll put I have a friend and I'll just put cat ears on her and she'll be a freaking meowing around. Okay. And she's like, she gets into trouble and knocks shit off the table and like everything like that. She shapeshifts into a cat. You pull the ears off. She's like, oh, come on. All right. And you like tools like ears, a bell, paws, or a foxtail. Okay. I remember when I was in the BDSM community, I saw my first kink was pony play. I saw it like a burlesque dancer. Okay. Or, and I would pony play. My pony was a glamour pony. Okay. And one of my friend went to me and he said, dude, you have a My Little Pony fetish. And I'm like, I'm not a brony. Okay. And I'm actually, so before, what was funny was I was in Amsterdam. I lived in Amsterdam for 3 years. And I started talking to this girl from Southern California, named Summer. Okay. In Summer, I went to Summer. She's now goes to Endless Night. She's been to Conclave. She's been around. She's been with this really wonderful guy for 10 years. But Summer came to stay with me in Amsterdam for about 5 weeks. Okay. And one of the things she asked is if I could turn her into a pony. All right. And she went out and invested in like a $5,000 pony gear costume. Okay. And I started dating someone and I said to this girl, I got you a pony. So we went to the airport and picked her up. And I swear to God, it was like a hockey bag with this costume. And we brought her back and we transformed her into a pony. All right. And she would emulate the pony. I taught her how to bow, do dressage. And she was awesome. Okay. And the pony gear and the role play helped her shapeshift into that animal. Okay. So you have cats, dogs. I mean, like cat play is usually with Neko with girls. I don't really know many boy cats. Okay. And it's interesting how different animals emulate with different cultures. So what I want to do is I want to go through, okay, each person's experience with shape-shifting. Okay. I want to bring out, and then I want to do an exercise, okay, where we can emulate the shape-shifting into an animal or into a creature that would benefit each of us. Okay. And remember that humans emulate each other. Okay. We emulate each other. That's how we learn. Okay. So is anybody objecting to doing an exercise with wolves? Okay. Because that seems to be the most common thing for vampire people. All right. Is the wolf. All right. But I'd like to go through, and I need 3 people to give examples of something that they shapeshifted into and how they affected their behavior or the experience of life. Any volunteers?
I can share one.
Okay.
So I talked about the Panther before, and for those who are around me, usually I'm fairly quiet, pretty calm. I usually don't say too much unless spoken to. But I also noticed that quick movements catch my attention, or I've had moments where I walk into a room and energy is just off. And once I focus on who it is, I'm very sharp to the point, boom, in your face, like very direct, just like a panther would be. They don't really mess around. They're either laying around conserving energy, or they're right at it, boom. And I've been that way before in many situations where it becomes very intense, very sharp, very focused, from 0 to like 1,000. So yeah, I've manifested that many times. So you got that major amount of force and energy and focus and presence coming from a small guy.
That's very, very good point, my friend. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Anyone else? Jasmine?
Yeah, so for me, at least out in public, the most thing I've ever manifest is my lioness side. So coincidentally, as I'm wearing this turn shirt, the one thing that happens a lot for me, especially if I'm in a place or a club place and somebody has asked me, like, Jasmine, can you hunt down Jessica that's on the 3rd floor? Can you just make sure she's up there? And yeah, because since lioness are the hunters, while the male lions don't do anything. But, you know, I'm able to find you and hunt you down no matter where you are. I'm able to like find your scent and find you in the middle of a crowd. And also my friends find it funny, especially if I'm getting defensive or I'm about to be on a fight. They say I crouch down a little bit and I go like this and I like move them out of the way and I get in front of them whenever there's about to be an argument happening. And my best friend always says, I don't know if you're acting like a vampire right now or you're about to act like a lion and you're about to pounce on this person. So we need to make sure which one is which is going on right now. A couple of people have called me out that my face changed during certain conversations or especially business conversations. A lot of people say I have that lioness come out of me. But yeah, only recently, I think for the past like, I'm gonna say 3 or 5 years, the crow has been showing up a lot more in me. But yeah, definitely more of a hunter-is lioness in your face. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Jasmine. Robin, and you had something to share.
Yeah, I do. Totally a lioness. And I'm a Leo too. 2012,
No, I was just singing Leo, the lion.
Yeah. In 2012, my daughter was on life support, and my ex wasn't involved in much of her sickness for like 5 years, 6 years. Actually, it was 7 years. And she needed a double lung transplant. And John Hopkins, because she was so sick, they were going to take her off of life support in 10 days. And the ex-husband was like, you know, we really need to talk about this. And I had the strength come from, I don't know where it came from. And my first thought was to protect my child. And I said to the doctor, I said to him, I said, you'll go back to fucking Oregon with your family and your life and you'll take care of that. And I told the doctor she has 24 hours to get my daughter out of here. And she says, well, any other hospital, it will be a slim to zero chance. And I'm like, well, you're giving me a 0. I will take that slim. Within 24 hours, we found a hospital from Johns Hopkins to University of Maryland in Baltimore, which was, it took 45 minutes to drive 3 miles because she was on an oscillator. And we had her moved to another hospital. I was not going to let them take her off life support. When I made a promise to her, I had no right making that I was going to see her survive this. She's 27 today. She wasn't supposed to see 18. So 2 transplants.
Wow. Yeah. So you manifested you know your totem animal, your at the essence of the lion came to you and gave you strength.
Protect my child. Yeah, my cub.
That's great. You know, before we do our shape-shifting exercise, okay, I want you to understand what I do for a living. Okay, I make fangs and give people a place to wear them. That's my core business. Okay, these 25 years of making fangs, the shift of perception, the transformation that happens to people's lives and their facial structure, that primal connection that happens when they first look in the mirror, when they make their fangs. My ritual of making fangs in person is called the Rites of Transformation. Okay. And each element, from the time that they make the oath to the time that they look in the mirror, okay, is an incredible transformation. It's a shape shift. Okay. That's why I call it the Sabretooth Rites of Transformation. And when I was making fangs in New York City, sadly, the Halloween store is closed. Okay. But New York City, you have to interact with people on the subway and the food. Like, people don't drive. You don't get in a car and go and be isolated and introverted. You go out in the real world. Okay. And when people see a pair of fangs that look so real, and they feel real to you and they feel real to the other person, it creates a suspension of belief. It creates an illusion that becomes tangible. Your agreement is, I'm making vampirism real. I'm making werewolves real. I'm making snakes real. Okay. And for example, there's a Fangsmith who I really, really care about. He's a really cool guy. His name's Ali Savage Traits. Okay. And I ask Ali, I'm like, Ali, are you a werewolf? I'm just a creature. Okay. And he is an artist with fangs. Okay. And I have a lot of appreciation for him. Okay. Because he's a little guy. All right. He's like 5'8". All right. But he is a shapeshifter. He made him who he is. Okay. And he doesn't identify as a vampire or a werewolf or anything. He's just a savage creature with bones and everything like that. And he's a great example because he's expressing his internal experience through manifestation of his costume and his decor and his garb and his fangs. He is an incredible example of a shapeshifter who's always in shape of himself. Okay. And took his heart and his mind and his spirit and manifested outward. Okay. So we've gone through a whole bunch of things. Now let's do an exercise. Okay. And what we're going to do is we are going to manifest a wolf. Okay. We're going to do that. So, okay. For those of you who have to leave, all right. I'll put the recording up and I'll mail everybody the class. Okay. So for those of you who are going to stay, okay, this exercise will be 3 minutes. All right. So if you can stay for 3 minutes, that would be great. If you can't, I understand. All right. So first, I want you to close your eyes, please. Okay. As Father Sebastiaan always says when you start a ritual. Okay. I want you to feel the world around you. Extend your senses, your sight, your smell, your taste. Ruby, close your eyes. Now what I want you to do is start with the most powerful of all senses. I want you to pay attention to the smells around you. Sense. Now I want you to envision in your mind's eye. You're keeping your eyes closed at all times until I'm finished with the exercise, please. But I want you to start smelling the forest. Envision a forest. And you're running through the forest. Now, what I want you to do is in your mind's eye, not your physical eyes, open your eyes and have the peripheral vision of a wolf. Humans have a different view than a wolf. Okay. Wolves see in a different color. I think they see in a different shade of, like, they're missing some colors. So pretend you're seeing black and white and you're running through the forest and you smell a deer. Now what I want you to do is start growling. Like a cat purring. Feel the growl coming on. And now you howl in your mind, because we can't do it here. Begin to howl and express the howl with your face. Ow! You're telling the other wolves you found a deer. You're on the hunt. You're running through the forest. You're howling and you're expressing yourself in the wolf's tongue. I have found dinner, and we are going to feast tonight. You smell the deer 100 meters away, 300 feet. You can feel its sweat and its panic, but you know that that will sustain your pack for the next day. You come up behind it. It trips. You look into its eyes, and you know that you are a predator. It gets up and it runs fast as it can, but you have to take that animal down. You're howling and telling the other wolves to stop it in the next, as the wolves are ahead, and you're hunting as a pack. But here's the thing you see in the eyes of the people that you've seen in the Zoom call. They are your pack members. They head off the wolf, they head off the deer, and then Ray, you jump on its neck and you rip its neck open. Okay. Eva, you hold it down with your paws on its back. Okay. Endo, you grab its eyes and you try to put it out of its misery, but you know that this will feed your pack. Jasmine and Robin, you jump on it and you begin to tear its throat open to make sure it has mercy and does not experience pain forever. Patty, you guide the chorus. And then the deer is finally down and out of its misery. And you begin to feast, pulling its limbs apart, chewing on its bones. And you collectively all howl together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Ow! Dinner is served. And that concludes our class.
That was pretty cool.
Any reflections, anyone? We just hunted as a pack.
Running through the forest at a much lower level than I would if I was standing at 5'5". This way, running on all fours, catching through the trees and the underbrush and being so high off the ground. That's how I saw it.
I have something to share with you all that I found in my storage locker when I was emptying out Vampyre, the Fang shop in New York. So does everyone know who Master Metal Manipulator Dedrenin is? I found a lost artifact of Dedrenin.
He created the Legacy Hawk, if I remember correctly.
Yes. But this is Dedrenin's Wolf Claw.
Oh, wow.
And yes. He created a bunch of supplemental artifacts, but as you can see, it's his style.
That kind of makes my eyes messed up. That's fucking cool. That is amazing. That's wow.
It is pretty cool.
Very powerful object.
So we're gonna this is not the master, but this will be reproduced very soon. We're bringing back the artifacts by Dedrenin, the keys and everything like that in his honor. And I'm going to be donating a part of the proceeds to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. So to create good energy around using this. All right, my friends, this class is now concluded. I want to thank you all. And next week is the Secrets of the Baphomet. And I hope you can join us. Okay. It was good for those of you who are in Los Angeles. I will see you tonight at the Vampire Lounge. Fare thee well. And thank you for joining us. And I hope you gained a new perspective tonight.
Sebastiaan?
Yes.
I have a quick question. I'm interested in getting things from you. Like, what do I have to do to actually get?
Send me an email and I'll explain it to you. And Jasmine, don't forget.
It's already packed, labeled, and shipped out already.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to seeing your things.
You really should be.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, be well, fare thee well. See you tonight at the Vampire Lounge or next week at Baphomet, Secrets of the Baphomet.
Good night.
Unpleasant dreams.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.